Los Angeles. Eric Anthony was always curious, but never obsessed, to learn the family secret. He grew up asking his mother about the identity of his biological father, but always received vague answers, saying it was a man who was briefly stationed at a San Diego naval base. It didn't really matter. Anthony was surrounded by love in the family with 3 brothers, food on the table, clothes in the closet and a ball field nearby. He was a star baseball player growing up in San Diego, drafted in 1986 by the Houston Astros, making his major league debut 3 years later and spending 9 years in the big leagues. He led the Astros with 19 homers and finished second with 80 RBIs in 1992 on a star-studded team that featured Hall of Famers Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio, along with Ken Caminiti, Steve Finley, and Luis Gonzalez. It wasn't until 8 years ago, October 10, 2017 to be exact, that his oldest daughter, Erica, asked him if he would do a genealogy test. She goes, "Dad, I've been watching some of these Ancestry DNA commercials," Anthony tells USA Today Sports. "She's always been curious who was on both sides of the family. I spit in the bottle, sent out the DNA, and when it came back, I started getting all of these Davis showing up in my profile. I had to investigate." He made a series of calls and wound up contacting a woman that showed up as one of the Davis relatives in Phoenix named Martha Burt Sells. He identified himself, and they figured out together they were cousins. Anthony explained his background and sent pictures of him in his baseball uniform where he played for Astros, Mariners, Reds, Rockies, and Dodgers, when Sells stopped him cold. "Oh, so you're the second most famous baseball player in our family," said Sells, who discovered 2 years earlier in a DNA test that her biological father and Davis' mother were brother and sister. "Who's the first?" Anthony said. "Well, my first cousin," Sells said. "My wife Googled him," Anthony said, and then she started screaming, "Oh my God, that's your father!" Yes, the 2-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner and 2-time World Series champion with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He still holds Dodgers franchise records since their move to Los Angeles for hits and triples. His 31-game hitting streak still remains the all-time Dodgers record. "I grew up loving Wally Moon and Duke Snider, and then Willie Davis came along," said Dodgers All-Star outfielder Rick Monday, who grew up in Santa Monica and became the first player selected in the history of the MLB draft in 1965. "Being a center fielder, I watched Willie really close because I was in awe of the way he ran after a ball and the way he ran the bases. His strides, he was like an antelope. He just devoured ground with every long stride that he took," said Dusty Baker, who grew up in Riverside and won a World Series with the 1981 Dodgers. "We all wanted to be Willie Davis. He ran like a gazelle the way he would fly around the bases. We all tried to imitate him. We thought he was the coolest dude ever." Oh, could Davis run? He twice led the National League in triples. He stole 398 career bases, including 42 in 1964, and stole 3 bases in 1 game during the 1965 World Series. He was nicknamed 3-Dog with his blazing speed. "He was such an important part of Dodger history," said former Dodgers GM Fred Clare, who spoke at Davis Memorial Service in 2010. "He was so full of life, with such high energy and so extremely talented. Nothing was too big for him. There was no intimidation. Great speed. A very good arm. No one ran from first to third like Willie. 3 steps between bags. What an athlete." Anthony, now 57, couldn't believe it. Everyone always wanted to know where he got his athleticism. Why did he gravitate towards baseball and not another sport? Why did everything seem so natural to him as a left-handed hitter? And, of course, why didn't his mother ever tell him the truth? "She could never give me a detailed answer," Anthony said. "You don't want to disrespect your parents. Just one of those things I kept inside. I thought maybe one day I'd find out, and I did." Anthony confronted his mom, Jo Carolina Phillips, who died at the age of 82 in February, and she confirmed his dad indeed was Davis. She certainly didn't mean any harm in keeping the secret. She was a proud woman. She wasn't looking for a handout from a baseball star. She was just fine raising 4 boys by herself. "I wasn't angry with my mother, or was I angry with Willie?" said Anthony, who retired from baseball in 2001 after also playing in Japan and Mexico. "I think my mother was protecting all of us from any scandal and did the best thing for all parties involved. She was protecting me. And she was protecting Willie." Anthony's oldest brother, Michael Phillips, 66, knows that while Eric is now at peace, he can't hide the desire to have known when Davis was still alive. "My mom was private as Eric, but she wanted to keep it away from everyone," Phillips said. "She was devastated that Eric found out the way he did. There was some tension there. It took a few weeks. I can't imagine it happening to me. Willie Davis being your actual father, that's a little bit of a shocker." Anthony discovered that few people ever knew the identity of his father. No one knew on the Davis side. So, he started making calls. He introduced himself to family members he didn't know existed. He soon discovered he had 2 new half-sisters and a half-brother. It was really strange, and just never connected the dots, said Thomas Davis, 87, Willie's oldest brother, who still lives in Los Angeles and struggles with his brother's death. When we talked, I believed Eric. If someone was that interested in reaching out and going through all that trouble, why wouldn't I believe him? I just had no idea. I really wish we had known him growing up. Anthony, who lives in Houston with his wife, Robin, and is now a proud grandparent, met Thomas Davis and 3 cousins in a Mexican restaurant in Irvine, California. They shared pictures and gasped at the resemblance. He couldn't believe how warmly he was embraced. "My uncle grabbed me and hugged me," Anthony said, and said, "You're giving me a piece of my little brother back." Of course, it was a shock to that side of the family at first since Willie was married. "I was a love child. But now, it's like one big family." The Families started reminiscing, and Anthony was reminded by his brother that Davis actually was at their house. In those days, everyone in the neighborhood was San Diego Padres fans, and when Davis was traded before the 1976 season to the Padres, he became a household name. "I remember there was this beautiful blue Corvette parked outside our apartment one afternoon," Philip said, "and a kid runs up to me and says, 'Why is Willie Davis at your house?' I ran upstairs, and there he was sitting on the couch.